Oh Allah, my repentance! What has happened? Another incident took place in Masjid Nabawi. Watch in this video what happened with the Imam of the mosque. Astaghfirullah. Peace be upon you, friends. This video will leave you shocked. During the time of Iftar in Masjid Nabawi, when the Imam of the mosque was about to break his fast, suddenly something happened there that made people immediately run away from the Imam of the mosque. Their eyes remained wide open in astonishment. When they saw blood dripping from the Imam's head, people started talking in different ways. What had happened to the Imam of the mosque in a holy place like Masjid Nabawi, who treated him in such a way that blood started flowing from his head? To find out, watch the video till the end. If you are new to our channel, subscribe and click the bell notification so that our videos can reach you. Friends, there was a man in Medina Munawwara named Abdul Shakur. He was a very pious and God-fearing person. He spent his entire life in the path of Allah. He had 7 sons, and he raised all 7 with the intention that he would appoint them as servants of Masjid al-Nabawi. His children would align the shoes of the visitors, serve them, and clean Masjid al-Nabawi. What greater honor could there be? But the astonishing thing was that every child he had would suddenly fall victim to a strange disease upon reaching the age of 4 or 5. After being ill for a few months, they would pass away, leaving their parents in endless grief. That man was so righteous that he had obtained his children after great hardships and prayers to his Lord. For 15 years of his marriage, he remained childless. His family and relatives advised him to marry again, saying that perhaps Allah would bless him with children through a second wife. However, doctors had confirmed that there was no defect in either husband or wife, and it was only a matter of Allah's will. That man loved his wife dearly and said, "No, if Allah wants to grant me children, He will do so through her. I will not marry again under any circumstances." Both husband and wife continued their lives with patience and gratitude. Then, for the first time, Allah gave them the good news of a child. The woman had a routine of reciting the Holy Quran daily. When her husband went to work, she would spend as much time as possible reciting the Quran, sometimes completing it in just 3 to 4 days. After completing each Quran, her only prayer was for Allah to bless her with children. Finally, Allah heard their prayers, and after 15 years, they were blessed with a beautiful baby boy. Their happiness knew no bounds. They distributed sweets throughout the family. Time passed gradually. The woman's husband was also very pious. He not only did good deeds himself, but also encouraged others. Despite her busy life, the woman continued her Quran recitation without any reduction. However, when their first son turned 2, Allah gave them good news again. Upon learning of her second pregnancy, she again thanked her Lord. When Allah blessed them with 2 sons, her life became quite busy. Initially, she prioritized reading the Quran, but as time passed, she became so engrossed in raising her children that whenever she got free time, she preferred resting instead of worship. Gradually, she distanced herself from reciting the Quran. Meanwhile, her husband, who was a regular 5-time prayer performer, started prioritizing his work over religious gatherings. One day, when his wife told him that he needed to focus more on work to support their 2 children financially, he began to drift away from religion towards worldly matters. When their eldest son turned 5, he suddenly developed a strange illness. First, boils started appearing on his head. Whenever they were treated, they disappeared from one place but reappeared elsewhere. Blood constantly oozed from his head. As the disease progressed, the child passed away at the age of 5. Their younger son also gradually fell victim to the same illness. Despite all precautions, he too could not survive and passed away at the age of 5. This caused the couple immense grief. They cried and complained to their Lord, saying, "After so many years, you blessed us with children, and after 5 years, you gave them such a strange disease and took them away from us. It would have been better if you had never given us children in the first place. We would have lived like this." They started expressing their despair to Allah. Nevertheless, after this, Allah blessed them with 5 more sons. But when the first 4 sons also passed away one by one at the age of 5, relatives and others advised them to reflect on what sin they had committed, that Allah was giving them children only to take them away again. When the couple heard this, they began to reflect. They said, "We used to worship so much, completing the Quran 10 times a month. If we had time, we even went to Masjid Nabawi to sweep the floor. Yet despite this, we don't know why Allah did this to us." When they shared this with a wise elder, he told them, "When you abandoned hope and failed to express gratitude for the blessings of your Lord, instead becoming negligent, that is when your Lord gave you blessings only to take them away." Upon hearing this, the man regretted his actions. Though he had been a father of 6 sons, he was now left empty-handed. He had only one son who was just 10 days old. He resolved that his son would become a servant of Masjid Nabawi. He would raise him to be a righteous and pious person, so much so that he would even lead prayers in Masjid Nabawi. Perhaps by having this intention, his child would survive. The woman also repented sincerely and, with the intention of her child's well-being, once again turned towards religion. The woman constantly prayed for her child, worshipping Allah so that her child might survive, and that is exactly what happened. Her 7th son had reached the age of 7 and was still alive. However, it seemed that this disease had become embedded in their blood. Or perhaps it was fate that although her 7th son had become the Imam of a mosque, he still had sores on his head, from which blood often oozed. The man always kept his head covered with a cap or a large scarf so that he could hide his condition from others. But one day, when the pain in his head became unbearable, he could no longer endure the suffering. In frustration, the mosque's imam removed his scarf. He was exhausted from his life. Taking a deep breath, he spoke in utter despair. "O Allah, I spend all my time in Masjid Nabawi. Then why don't you cure this illness of mine? My elder brother also suffered from this disease and passed away. Now please have mercy on me. Forgive me and rid me of this illness. I can no longer endure this pain and suffering." When young children saw the large sores on the imam's head, with blood seeping from them, they felt disgusted. The news spread that the imam of the mosque was suffering from such a repulsive disease that people found it nauseating to even look at him. Some even began to say that he must be a great sinner, and that was why Allah had afflicted him with this illness. This rumor spread from children to adults, and soon people started harboring resentment towards the imam in their hearts. One day, as everyone was seated in the courtyard of Masjid Nabawi for Iftar, an individual suddenly struck the imam's head with a stick, injuring him. The imam had his head wrapped in a scarf, but blood still started to flow. Seeing this disrespect, the people around became furious and attacked the man who had assaulted the imam, saying, "Have you no respect for this sacred place? How can you humiliate someone like this?" In anger, the attacker shouted, "He is a liar and a fraud. Allah has afflicted him with so many diseases, yet he shamelessly continues to lead prayers in the mosque." Blood continued to drip from the imam's head. He was immediately taken to the hospital, where his wounds were bandaged. Upon hearing the incident, people started whispering various things. However, when the imam finally revealed the truth about his condition, the man who had attacked him felt ashamed and apologized to him, but the imam remained silent. By the will of Allah, after this incident, the imam's wounds miraculously healed, and no new sores ever appeared on his head again.